So imagine you're on a train track and there's two trains coming, and then one path leads to your mom dying, and the other path leads to two guys you don't really know, and then they would die. Most people obviously are going to choose the two people that you don't necessarily know to die because you would rather have the two people you don't know die than your mom die, for example. Now, imagine you're in the same situation with your mom on one side of the train, and on the other side, there is a known terrible serial killer demon person, and they're just the worst person ever. That makes your decision so much easier. Obviously, you're going to choose the man who kills little kids and eats babies than your mom to die. That's not even a question. I think everybody would agree with that. And so this scenario, while not being super relevant, it shows that things need to be done to save the ones you love in some situations. And this brings me into my point of torturing terrorists should be allowed in certain situations. The main points are that if there's going to be a for sure saving of lives, no matter what the cost is going to be, that should be done. The human life is the most important thing in the world, and it needs to be guarded. And if we're not willing to save people's lives, the lives of the masses, just to do like one bad thing, then there's something wrong with our system of what we think is morally right and wrong. Because if you believe that killing, not even necessarily killing, but torturing a terrorist, a person who is known to be a felon to society, murdering innocent lives, taking them away from their families, if we're not willing to hurt that person, torture that person to get information out of them, then there's something wrong with our perception of human life and what is morally right or wrong. Torture could have the ability to save lives. And if the goal is to save lives, any circumstance, any measure should be taken into full effect. No matter how bad you have to torture the guy or anything, you have to take measures into the extremes in an extreme situation. And in every situation dealing with terrorists, it's always going to be an extreme situation. For example, a ticking time bomb situation is not something that necessarily happens all the time, but it could arise easily. Somebody has a bomb. We don't know where it is. The CIA have acquired a terrorist, sure, and we have him under our restraint, and we have the ability to torture him to get information out of him to save lives. No matter what we have to do, even if it doesn't necessarily even accomplish anything, like he doesn't budge or whatever, anything to attempt to save lives must be done. There's no question about it. And the people who claim that torturing anyone is too immoral or just they couldn't bring themselves to understand why we would ever do that to another human being has a flawed mentality. They claim that their morals are too strong or too high to torture someone, but their morals aren't thinking about how if we don't do this, people will die. People, American citizens will die because you're not willing to torture a known terrorist, the most feared and hated people in the world. And that's why it doesn't make sense to value their lives over anyone else's, because they have made their decision to be a terrible person. And the people that they're going to kill are just normal people, just like you and me. In conclusion, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. Anything needs to be done to make our world a safer place. If that's torturing terrorists, killing terrorists, whatever, any measure must be taken and should be taken, because the human life is too valuable to just throw away because you don't feel like it is morally correct to torture someone as terrible as every single terrorist is. And if you don't agree, then I think you have a flawed sense of morality, even though you believe that your sense of morality is higher than everyone else's. I personally would do anything to save someone I love, and most people would say the same. So why are we unwilling to torture terrorists to save lives of loved ones, fellow Americans, anyone, because we're not willing to torture these terrorists? Something needs to change, and this needs to become legal. 100%.